We're live. We're live, Jen. Welcome to another
Hey,
episode of Alive with Joey. This is episode 2. We have Jen, the awesome mom. A lot of you know who she is already from TikTok, and I'm really excited. We've had a few technical difficulties getting set up, but here we are. How are you, Jen?
I am doing great, Joey. How are you? I'm so excited to be on. I'm so glad that you invited me. It was so humbling for me.
Good. I knew right away when we connected that you were going to be on here eventually, and you happened to be on session on episode 2. So that's awesome. I'm going to ask everyone if to just chime in and make sure we're coming in clear. We're not having any difficulties. No one's having any difficulties hearing us or anything like that. So just going to see what their people are saying. I think we're doing all right.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody could hear me. I can get pretty loud. It shouldn't be a problem.
Loud and clear, Lil Wolf says we're dancing. Okay. So Jen, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about yourself. You're a psychic medium. I found you on TikTok. You blew me away. We've connected for a few months, and since then, like, mind blowing. But tell me a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
I'm a psychic medium. I do multidimensional healing. I've been doing my psychic mediumship or whatever with the public for about 10 or 11 years. Before that, it was pretty hush hush. Um, I help people heal childhood wounding, uh, shadow work, multidimensional, everything, every aspect of, Reiki, anything spiritual. I'm your gal.
So let's jump into what you just said, the hush hush part, because I think a lot of
Uh,
us can relate to that part of it. How
yeah.
long, how old were you when you realized you were different?
Wow. Like the first memory I ever had, like these people were in my bedroom when I was little, and I was like, what is that? I tried to tell my mom. She's like, oh, you're just dreaming. And I'm like, I'm awake. I I'm not dreaming. And right away, I grew up in a Catholic household. You didn't talk about stuff like that. So right away, I learned it's not okay. And I suppressed it, and I kept my mouth shut. It just wasn't okay. I was more than weird. It was wrong.
Ooh. So so is there shame and, like, were you scared? Because I mean, I grew up, so we both grew up in the Catholic Church, which was interesting. I didn't know that until we talked a little while ago. And I can see where things can get iffy there. What what was that like? Did
Uh,
you feel like, tell me a little bit
It
about that.
Well, there was a lot of shame. You can't say to your priest, or, "Hey, I'm hearing voices," or, "There's ghosts in my room," or anything like this. Or you can't say, "Well, my," at the time I didn't know they were my guides, but you can't say, "Well, this person's going to die soon because they came to me and blah blah blah." You can't say that. I heard so many times, the devil's inside you. It's the devil speaking through you. That's go say the rosary, or ask for forgiveness, hurry up. And I'm like, oh, so right, just be quiet. Oh, there's something wrong with you. So I kept it quiet for a long, long time.
It's funny you say that, because you see a lot of that on TikTok in the comments too, when people are talking about, connecting with their guides and starting to receive information from the other side. And that's, I think, a lot of the Christian community that I've seen, that's the first thing they do. They said, "Oh, these are dark entities. This is the devil. This is that," and that's all you're getting is getting the runaround. And I'm just like, wow. I mean, of course, there's so much fear there. Like,
Yeah.
how do
Yeah.
you respond to that when you see those kind of comments?
When I see them now, I just throw unconditional love at it because I understand it, and I can come from that higher heart space of compassion. And I don't say anything to those people because obviously they're not in a space yet vibrationally to understand
Yeah.
where I am, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But it
So,
doesn't bother me anymore.
yeah. So, okay. So you're coming from a place of unconditional love, which we all are kind of thriving to do. But what do you tell people, like even myself, when this all started to come through, when I started to get receive stuff? I remember putting all these people who are channeling, and I remember just being like, wow, I can't believe how gifted these people are. I can't believe they can receive all these messages, and so on and so forth. And I was just like, wow, I can't even imagine being that. And then things started to evolve for me, and I started to get freaked out. And then there was some old conditioning from the church that crept in. What do you
Yeah.
tell people who are first starting to receive messages or channeling, or when they start to kind of develop this? How do you help them? What do you say?
Well, I believe in God. So what I tell them is, and it's going to make me cry, how can something that's based in unconditional love and light be wrong? How can it be wrong? How can that be of the devil? How
Mhm.
can me helping thousands of people
Right.
getting messages from, source, my source, God? How can that be a bad thing? So first thing I tell them is, God doesn't have judgment for you. All he has is unconditional love. And as long as you're coming from this space of unconditional love, you can't be doing anything wrong.
Okay. But the ones that start to receive, let's say, okay, someone takes up meditation, they go into a deeper state, they get super connected, and all of a sudden they start receiving information, like I did when I that's kind of how it started for me. And that fear comes up because they're not necessarily helping people, they're not necessarily doing what you're doing. They're just getting this information. Maybe, call them downloads, like we've seen a lot of. But how can they decipher? Because I know what I would say, but I want to know what you would say to these people who are getting information, and how to kind of make sure,
How
to give
make
them
sure it's not from the devil.
sure, sure,
But it's still, when you're getting downloads or messages from your guides, they want the best for you. They're going to give you information that's going to help you heal your
yeah,
wounding so you can go up in vibration. That's still coming from a space of unconditional love. They're not sitting there in your ear saying, go kill 50 million people. They're telling you this is your wounding. They're bringing it
right.
up. They're triggering you for all this stuff to come up to be healed.
So,
Right?
so, so do you think a lot of the fear comes from just because that stuff is coming up and surfacing, and us humans don't really want to deal with this stuff? A lot of us are just like, screw this. Like, do you think a lot of fear is just that what's coming up, and them going, oh my God, that's might be something dark and evil, like our shadow? A lot of people think the shadows, or those unloving parts of us, are maybe lower vibrational or evil. Do you think that has something to do with it?
That fear is conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And once you realize we're not born in fear, that's taught. Okay. All of that fear is conditioning. So once you understand that everything that is fear based is negative, some people call it the devil, some people call it evil. I call it negative energy. Everything that is fear based brings your vibration lower and keeps you from source, from God, whatever you believe in, keeps you from it. That's the darkness, that fear.
Did you
And most
always?
of that was taught from our parents, from
Mm-hmm.
past lives, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what we're fighting. That's what you're trying to heal the wounding from, is that fear-based crap. Yes.
So it's funny you say that, because I want to know. I'm guessing other people have had this. It's taken me. Well, I bet you it's only been the last couple of years that I'm able to say the word God and not be cringy about it. Okay, because
Me too.
growing up, yeah. So I want to know what that was like for you, because even the word God, and even talking about Jesus, and even like all that stuff forever, probably from when I was the age of 14, maybe earlier, when I had some weird experiences with the church. But I went kind of atheist for a long time, just going, well, I know the church isn't for me because this is effed up. And this kind of
Yep.
stuff that I was hearing about and some of the experiences I was having, I was like, this is messed up. So I kind of went right off of from being a Catholic. You know, I went through my first communion, my confirmation, and all these things. And then I went, I'm done. So the word God, Jesus, anything associated with it was like, get out of my face. And then everything kind of came full circle as I dove into, you know, my dark night of the soul and all my depression and everything else, and finding spirituality. And then it took me till I was 34 years old to be able to say the word God and not be like triggered by it. So is that kind of the same for you?
Exactly. Like I rejected the church when I was like 13. I literally ran away from like Bible school or something. My parents were so mad. But I couldn't say the word God comfortably probably the last 5 or 6 years. And then I realized it wasn't God that I had a problem with.
No.
And it took me from 13 until, well, I'm almost 50. So it took me that amount of time to realize I love God. God is my source.
Yeah.
God is the one that
Yeah.
all of to be able to help heal all of these people. My problem was the construct, the
Yeah.
church, the
Yeah.
judgment.
Yeah. Well, you just said judgment. So I want to stop you there for a second because I'm going to put this on the screen here. Um, oh, not right there. Not that one. Shan Slay says, I grew up as a Mormon, and those terms were used to manipulate me. Well, yeah, and even in same, and I can resonate. It resonates with me too because it's guilt. You're going here. Don't do that. Don't touch yourself.
Yep.
Don't all this shit that we were told and taught.
All of it.
And you know, I'm going to share a little story. I'm going to share a little story, and I've shared this on my live, but this is a big one for me. This is where kind of everything, the wheels fell off the Catholic Church for me. We were in a small town, and some of you have heard the story. Many of you have not. I was in a small town when I grew up. I was I think I was 12 or 13, and our school was next to the Catholic Church in town. And this whole town is Catholic. There's only like, I don't know, 1,200 people in the town, maybe less. But I mean, everyone went to church. That's what you did. And this was in like 1996, 1997, maybe around that time. We would still go to confession. Like the school would give you the opportunity to go to confession. And well, you're skipping class, so who's not going to confession? Like that's what we did. Like I'll go to confession. I remember going into confession one day. I must have been 12. And look, I had just discovered myself. Okay, my body. I'm 12. And I remember getting into this booth, sitting beside this 70-year-old man and going, shit, I got to tell him this now or else I'm going to hell. And my whole inner being is fighting me going, no, you don't have to do shit here. Like, you don't have to say nothing. You don't have to say anything. And I remember just going, no, I remember the rules. So I remember telling this old man this and then immediately just going, what the did I just do? And he forgave me and God forgave me. And I went on my way and pretty sure I went right home and did the same thing. But I'm like, this, I'm just like, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. And I think that was the moment because I remember that memory is so crystal clear. And I went like, I am done with this shit. I am completely done. And so that was kind of the moment where I went, screw the church. This doesn't make any sense. My body, are you kidding me? Like what?
Yeah.
And so that's my little story with the Catholic Church and where it all kind of fell apart. But how's that for vulnerable?
Yeah, well, you're being honest though, right?
Yeah.
I was actually so young. The last time I remember going to confession when I went, I didn't understand. I was really naive, and I'm still quite naive actually, but I remember going in there to confession and making up stuff that I did wrong. I lied to the priest that I did stuff wrong because I thought if I don't tell him something, you
Right.
know, like
Right. We all,
I
yeah.
point is, I felt so manipulated that
Yeah.
I felt like I had to, or I was going to get in trouble. Like it wasn't.
Well,
It just shouted, "It's not okay to be you.
it,
It's not okay."
yeah. Well, Rebecca just said the same thing. I made stuff up. I made,
Yeah.
wow. Right.
How manipulating? How fucked up is that? That you that you have to pretend to be someone else to conform to this ridiculous,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
or
So
whatever you want.
sure. So let's move from that. So when did you decide, with all the guilt and everything, that inner conflict, that resistance within yourself to be who you're supposed to be, and then the church telling you, otherwise, that's isolating. That's not just with the church. I think
Very.
a lot. Yeah. So I think that it's a lot of people going through this, even with their awakening. Call it what you want. You're remembering your awakening, your spiritual growth. Once you start to realize how connected you really are, how gifted you are, because we all have these gifts. Different ones are
Right.
open, but how all of a sudden your life just kind of takes this hard right hand turn, or this does this 180, and all these things you used to think that were important were nothing, and all of a sudden your friends think you're nuts, and you're talking about crystals and astrology. And how did you navigate that?
Well, you know, I came from a very strong Catholic household. My father was the leader, that kind of thing. So he got sick with stomach cancer, and it took him, about 4 or 5 months to die. And in that time, that last month, um, I went into his room to talk to him. He said, he called me in there. He said, "I need to talk to you," and I was like, "Okay." Um, and he whispered in my ear. He brought me really close, and he said, "Jen, my room is full of people." And I said, "I know, Dad." And he said, "No, no, no, no. You don't understand. My room is full of people, and they're
Holy
all
shit.
dead." And I said, "I know, Dad. I see them too." And he just started bawling. And he was lucid. He wasn't like actively dying or crazy and he started bawling and he said, "You can see them." He like grabbed me and shook me. He's like, "Why didn't you tell me that you could see them too?" And I was like, "Dad, you would have killed me." And I watched in this man his ego
Right.
dissolve
Ooh.
on his way home. And he no longer had that Catholic Church judgment. He didn't
Wow.
have anything except love. And I watched it over this next 2 or 3 weeks, and and the just the joy and the release in his face when I told him I can see them too. And he was so overwhelmed and relieved that he wasn't nuts. I said, "They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you to take you home." And you
Oh,
did. And he died 2 weeks later. But it was after that I was like, "Okay, here's the man that I basically held my tongue for my whole life, and he just died, basically telling me it's okay. It doesn't matter, you know."
he's
And it didn't matter anymore. I watched him face God basically to go home, and none of that shit, none of that judgment mattered anymore. And I was like, "You know what? I'm doing it. I'm doing this shit."
so how flippin' healing was that for you? Like
It
to
changed my life.
oh my
Changed
god.
my life. I
Like,
wouldn't be sitting here now had that not occurred to me. Had that not happened to me. I had never seen anything more beautiful other than my children being born than watching my father die.
wow.
It was beautiful.
I can't I can't even imagine because my head's just spinning. I'm like, is it I can't. It's just beautiful. Like, and you would have never expected any of that. I mean,
Oh God,
you
no,
know, the
not from him.
wow. Yeah.
No.
Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful because, man, I even look at my dad, and I think my dad started meditating. He was 60 or yeah, maybe 59, 60 years old. I finally got into my kind of flow with my spirituality, and I introduced him to Abraham Hicks. Like I introduced a lot of people to, and yeah, my dad went absolutely like all in on Abraham, and started, real discovering energy and how to manipulate it, and vibration and all this. And man, what a change. When my dad, when everything kind of clicked for him, it was like, that's how fast it happens, right? You start having
Yeah.
these experiences that you can't deny. I mean, you can't necessarily explain, but you're having experiences that you can't deny, and they get stronger and stronger the more you let go and allow. And just seeing the change in my dad was just, you would have never, 5, 6 years ago, if you had told me your dad's gonna start meditating with you, what? He's fucking 60. He grew up on a farm. He worked his ass off his whole life. Like, if his dad would have seen him start meditating, he's like, come on, you know. So that's wild. I can't
Yeah.
even. Yeah, that's beautiful. So
Yeah.
I want to touch on this before we get too far in, because Jen messaged me the other day. She's like, Joey, I want to give away a free reading. Do you think I could do that? I'm like, well, yeah, you can definitely do that. And I think everyone would be super stoked. So towards the end of the show, we're going to bring it up again, and we're going to do a little draw. Okay. We're not going to do anything right now, but I want you guys to stick around if you guys want to be a part of that. Jen, if you don't know, some of you, I'm sure, have already had readings from Jen. I've had a reading from Jen. Like,
A few.
yeah, I just like mind blowing stuff. So at the end of the show, towards the end of the show, we're going to do a little something to put your names all in a draw, and we'll do a random generator, and we're going to figure out when we're going to do it. Maybe we'll go on a live on TikTok this weekend or something, and announce the winner and do something like that. Where else did I want to go from this? Oh yeah, that story with Dad. That's so. Let's talk about this big shift that we've been talking about lately. Tell me what you feel is happening as a collective right now on this planet.
I feel like right now we're all being pushed up. We have our normal people, we have our higher vibrational beings, our more advanced souls, and everybody's feeling this push. And a lot of us don't understand where it's coming from or why it's happening. But they're like, I've got to go out and buy a book, and I've got to read about this, and I want to know about that. And you know what? My diet's changing, and why do I have headaches, and why are my ears ringing, and why am I tired? And all this stuff is happening because we're really being pushed to help raise the Earth's vibration. But so many people, they don't understand what's happening to them because it's happening at such a fast pace. It wasn't like 20 years ago where we had a lot of time to sit and think, you know what, maybe I want to do
Right.
that, maybe I don't. Oh, it was like they're shoving us along this path going, okay, it's time.
Well, let's talk about the last few weeks, because I felt like we went from like doing 100 miles an hour to doing light speed. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like everything is developing so quickly. Things are falling into place. If you're resisting this, it's getting ripped out of your hand. It's authenticity, authenticity, authenticity now. Like, or else it's
Now.
getting really effing uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
the pull that you take, your soul is guiding you. Your guides are guiding you, and because we all have that knowing. We all feel it differently, but we all have that deep knowing.
Right.
And it's flip it. You're getting punched in the face if you're not listening right now. I don't know what it's been like for you.
No, well, I can hear, but what I am being pushed to do is to push everyone else. You
Yeah,
know,
same.
like people like my cousin, I'm like, you're going to go on the spiritual awakening. And this was 6 months ago. He's like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. And now he's like, people resonate at different vibrational levels.
Yeah.
And I'm like up here, and he was like way down here. And now he is actually almost getting above me. And just in less than 6 months.
Well,
This is how
are
fast
we,
people with the right direction
yeah.
are going up in vibration.
Are we talking about the same cousin? Am I thinking about the same person?
John,
Yeah.
Don,
Okay.
Cat,
What an amazing. Like
yeah,
I've connected with him too, and what he sends me and the energy that we can exchange through even text is mind blowing. And supporting. So this is a big thing here. I'm really being pushed to share this. Support the ones that are going through it, no matter what level they're at.
that's right.
Because just you saying, no, you're right. No, you're keep going, keep trusting that. Sometimes those words change everything, because it is a flippin' lonely world when you start to evolve that way. And your mom and your dad or your grandparents or everyone around you is still, stuck in the matrix or whatever you want to call it, and on a maybe lower vibrational, on a different pattern. And that encouragement, that support is
It's
huge.
everything. It's
It's
everything.
huge. That's soul family you come to meet. And when you vibrate higher, people fall away. I talk about this a lot. Naturally, contracts end, people fall away. You're
Sure.
just not here anymore. You start vibrating here, they're here. Some might come back, but it's the other ones that you don't see coming that they change your life. They change your life.
That's right.
You don't see them
They
coming.
blow
They
your mind.
blindside you. Yeah. Well, it's like you and I. Like, how the hell did we? I don't even know how we even started talking. John, I don't know how. What? You know?
No, I knew a year ago. I duetted one of your videos in December of last year. And when I
Mm.
saw you, I was like, yep, I'm going to do something with Joey. And I knew that a year ago. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew.
So that's another good point, because I want to touch on this. We often don't see what other people see in us. We often don't even have a clue how powerful we are. But when we look at others, we're like, whoa.
We can see
But
it, right?
right, and people have said this about me for a lot of, probably a lot of my life, in different ways. Maybe it wasn't the spiritual way or anything, but and I never believed it. There was a lot of not enoughness there, a lot of not worthiness there, and there's still stuff I'm
Right.
battling and healing from. And but when you hear those things, it does something to your heart. It does something to your soul. It's like, oh wow, I am that special, because there's moments you're connecting in ways and you're helping the world, but it's
That's
but
right.
it's you know, but we very rarely see ourselves like others see us.
That self doubt creeps in, your
Mm-hmm.
ego,
Mm-hmm.
fear, all of that fear based negative shit brings your vibration down so
Yeah.
fast. But the people that stand behind you and say, you can do it, I know you are this, I know you're a healer. Dude, that shoots you up the ladder so fast. That's why I tell everybody it's so important to come together, to be this really strong community and to be there for each other, because those are our self-doubt is bad enough, right? But then we hear it from, the dogs keep barking and the caravan keeps marching on. But if when it's our family, it's like, oh, they're unhappy with me, I better not, or I am a piece of
Mm-hmm.
crap, or we need to
Well,
quiet those negative words.
and yeah, it's not always easy, because a lot of that comes from, it could be many lives. It could be, different traumas. For me, uh, uh, I had 30-year-old trauma surface for the first time over the last 6 months for me, and I never would have thought this ever happened to me. But that's the thing about healing and the layers of that we have. We never get what we're not ready to face. And the subconscious mind does an amazing job at keeping us protected and safe. But as I
Right.
kept doing my healing and going through it, more stuff started to surface. Like, I know a lot of you resonate with this. Like, you may have this big breakthrough, you do all this work, and you're like, I did it. Yes, amazing. And then,
More work.
2 weeks later, you get blindsided by something else. Well, this was the biggest one for me, and it's still something that I'm really I'm not fully I'm not done with. I've done a huge part of the healing around it, but it's the biggest thing that's ever happened to me. And it only surfaced at 37 years old. So it's wild because you
Yeah.
just never know what's going to come up, what you haven't, and all that not enoughness and unworthiness and not knowing where I fit in and if I was being a good person or not. The church mixed with what happened it makes total sense.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so easy to stay down to get into victim consciousness right when you start taking off those little layers. And then you go and you know what? I'm not fixable. I'm broken. I'm fucked. No, but why? Not me. I couldn't possibly help anyone. It's real easy to fall into that. But then
Oh yeah.
again, that's when I say that's when you're coming up in your life. Fight harder because that's the darkness trying to keep you down.
Oh, for
That's the
sure.
darkness. Oh shit! Look at her. Look at him. They're going up in vibration. We better really get them this time. Bam,
Mm-hmm.
bam, bam. Let's keep them. That's when you fight. Fight harder. Be the
Wow.
light. Yeah.
But it's just true. I find it so amazing on how, like, the timing of everything, and everything is divine. Like, there are no mistakes. Everything just falls into place, and it's really wild. But if I would have went down that road of what happened, in my darkest times, I don't know if I would have made it out of that one. Like, but it wasn't time for me to know that. My
Right.
inner being was like, Joey, we're not showing you this yet. You're gonna go through all this. You're gonna heal this, and this. You're gonna realize, like, that doesn't serve you. Blah blah blah. You're gonna learn all these lessons, and then when you're ready, then we're gonna allow this to come up. And it's what happened.
Right.
It was so I started to see things. I talked about this in the last podcast. I'm starting to see things while I'm awake, not when I'm closing my eyes and going into meditation. I'm seeing, like, multi levels and different layers of things. Well, this is what happened with my trauma. I started to have, like, flashes. I'm just doing the dishes or I'm with the kids or whatever I'm doing, and all of a sudden a flash of something, and I'm like, well, that's weird. I haven't been there in 30 some years. Why is that coming up? But then associated with that was a knowing of something happening. Not knowing
Yeah.
what, but just something happened. I'm like, no, 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 no. Keep going. A few days later, weeks later, boom, flash again. Stronger. I'm like, okay, this is strange. And then another flash. And then another flash. And I'm like, geez. And then there was just this uncomfortable feeling. I knew something happened there and I knew what it was, but I didn't know who it involved. I didn't know blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, whatever. When it needs to come up, it will. Then one day, when I was just got to Costa Rica, I'm in our first rental where, I'm going into meditation. I went deep. Like, I went into a whole other world. And sure enough, it was like puzzle pieces went click, 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 click. And I'm like, took my breath away. I was like, fuck, like,
Yeah.
whoa. And then I knew. And then I went into kind of not a victim mode, but it was like, I was almost obsessed about this. I'm like, wait, what? And I needed answers, and I started doing, and I got out of, being present, but I needed to do what I had to do. But it's just wild how it all
Yeah.
just happened and came to the surface.
Right. But they didn't present it to you until you were strong enough to deal with that. Right. Had that been
Yeah.
presented to you 10 years ago, you would have been like,
Oh,
ah.
I don't
No.
know. I don't know if I would have been able to handle it. I'd like to say, I would have, but man, knowing how dark times were then, and to have that put on top of everything else,
Yeah.
that would have been. something else, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. So what
It's
about
it's a really beautiful ride, though. I gotta say, people ask me
what?
all the time because as higher vibrational beings, you know, advanced souls, we get a lot put on our plate, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. People ask me all the time, "Would you do it again? If would you do it all again?" And I tell them all the time, if going through the shit that I have gone through in my life, and it's been substantial, help one person from going through all that crap, yeah, yeah, I do it again, over and over and over again. Sure, I would. Yeah,
And it's the same with me. And I mean, all our stories are so different. And, you know, we get caught up, a lot of us get caught up at downplaying what we've been through. You know, we hear other people's stories, the severe trauma here, severe trauma there, the sexual abuse, this or that, or anything, you know, what we consider as massive, big things. And we downplay what happened to us. So many people that I work with, and I'm sure it's the same with you, one-on-one stuff, we help heal. They're like, oh, but it's not that big of a deal. So people go through so much worse. And I'm like, listen, it's not like that. It doesn't work that way. You know, it's okay to feel what you feel. It's okay to have those
yeah,
triggers and that. And you know, when I started to do my healing, man, some days you're like, um, why did I bother doing this? Like, what? Could I just go back asleep?
yeah,
Could I just go put my mask back on and pretend I'm this? Because there's times where it's easier, but you realize very quickly,
yeah.
like this road, this journey, uh, is magical, and it's a divine. You get to do. I don't know. It's you're serving others, and I don't know. It's beautiful. I'd never take anything back. All my darkest times, um, I'm so grateful for.
So am I, and
Yeah,
completely humbled by the whole entire process. Really
yeah,
am. I really am.
yeah. Humbled daily. Oh man.
I'm humbled right now. I'm
Oh yeah.
The other day I was telling a friend of mine, I was like, I'm gonna be on Joey asked me to be on his podcast. Can you believe that? And they were like, "What? You?" I was like, "Yeah, me."
It's a
You know,
pleasure to have you. You know, the, you have so much to give, and I think you just need, you know, people need to hear how you. Well, here's what I want to get into. How would you, if people are going through these um, their ascension, their gifts, how do you help them develop it? If you were to have someone like study under you, how would you get them to develop those abilities? If they think they're a psychic, a medium, or even anything else, what would you say they should do to develop those gifts?
the people that have been following me for a while know this, and I push it really hard.
Let's hear it.
I didn't come fully into my abilities. Like they happened randomly and I couldn't control them. And I even thought, well, maybe I'm broken because they only happen now and then and blah blah blah. And I really didn't get it. Like why is that? Why can't I just have it on? And and then I ended up taking this Reiki course. And in this Reiki, the woman that, Reiki level 1 or whatever, she was teaching us how to open our chakras. At the time, I had no idea what a chakra was. But we went through the exercises and everything, and all of a sudden I was like, this woman beside me was at lunch. She was like, "Oh, I have this problem, and I'm having this problem in my guts." And I'm like, "Yeah, they left a sponge in you." And all of a sudden I'm like, how did I know that? And then I realized I thought I was going crazy. And I realized, but then when after I left and went back out into the world, it was gone. And I was like, hold on. And then, going through the class and everything, I learned the reason I could see I was connected into source, all my chakras were open. And that was
Oh,
all. So the first thing I tell people if you're going to get into any kind of healing yourself, healing anything, take a Reiki course. Take a Reiki course. Understand your energetic chakra system, because it, it just turned on like a light bulb. I was like, oh, it was that simple. But, well, it's not that simple. Anytime we
I get
feel
it.
fear, anytime we get
Hmm.
upset, anytime we feel it,
Yeah.
we shut down,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Well, it's
So then
the
you're talking
opposite.
about getting it and all of that and healing it. But that's where to start. Yeah.
So let's talk about when people start, or people like myself, when I kind of jumped all in into the spiritual world, because I'm still obsessed. I'm still obsessed about it. I love it. Like, if you know me, I'm a mystic. I love the magic. I don't need the science. I love the science. When Joe Dispenza talks, I love hearing about it. I love listening to Joe, Bruce Lipton, or all these really amazing minds. But I'm the one who loves the magic of it all, because that's how I how everything has happened for me. It's a belief, it's a knowing and going and using and understanding vibration. But let's talk about channeling and kind of squashing a few things right off the hop, because we talked about this. What is the most important thing for you what would you say to people who are beginning to channel or want to channel? What's an important thing for you that you would tell them?
To channel their guides.
Guides, higher self. Well, we talked about our own voice. I want to go down
Okay.
that road.
It is. People sometimes expect to hear some other voice. It's your voice. It's your inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. And to be able to differentiate between the two is often, when you're first starting, is very difficult, you know, because, that self bashing voice that we hear, oh, you're an idiot, blah, 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 why'd you do that, blah, blah, blah. That we have that voice, it's no different than that voice. It's the same voice, except
Yeah.
this other voice is loving.
Yeah.
And it's usually, and I explain it to people like this: like, you could be sitting there eating an apple, blah 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 blah, and all of a sudden you'll think about a convertible, and like, okay, where, and the thought just comes in.
Yeah.
That's our higher self.
Yeah.
And after a while, after you get used to it, it actually has, well, for me, it has a physical feeling.
A feeling.
So
Yeah.
when I get, yes, I can feel it in my body. So when my guides, I connect in or channel or whatever, I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to explain it. I
Yeah.
can feel
Well,
it.
that's
Like real
what.
life, someone touching you.
Yeah.
It's very subtle.
Yeah. Well, that's why I made the video the other day. Is after we talked, I said I need to make a video about checking in with your higher self, and that's where my video came from. Is we can set the intention to get that physical feeling. We're always connected to our higher selves, obviously, but we can strengthen that connection to know that when it's coming through, we can feel it. So one of the things I do before my sessions with my clients, or even in meditation, I'll do a little ritual that I have. And one of the things that I do that came through when I was in Guatemala was just splash cold water on the back of my neck. And then when I do that, take a few deep breaths. I'll go from my third eye to my heart, and I'll do a little ritual, and I'll bring the energy in from the earth, and then I'll check in with my higher self. And and as soon as I check in, I just warmth, like energy down my spine,
Yeah.
and I'm like, thank you. So when I'm having these, downloads or whatever in the middle of the day, it's a lot easier to me to go, oh, okay, because they come in so quick, right? You're like, what? But if you know the feeling, it's a knowing, it's a loving, and then you know the difference between that ego or trauma. There's a big, big difference. So I think it's really important for people to, in their own way, you guys are all unique. You can do this in your own way. Is find a way to check in with that higher self every day, and then compound it, and then make it stronger every day, so that you will know in your everyday life what's coming through and where it's coming from.
That's right. That's right. I check in with mine all the time. If
Yeah.
a friend's supposed to come over here, I'll ask him, I'll ask myself, I wonder what time they're going to get here. And I go to text them and I'll say, you know what? I don't need to ask them. I'll just ask them and I'll get an answer. And I play that game because it's like a muscle, right? You have to practice, and play those games. I call them games to work out that muscle, to test
Hmm.
yourself, to see how you're doing, where you're at.
Hmm. Well,
And do
Chris,
things that don't, not, am I going to fall in love with Bob or whatever? Do
right?
it with stuff that doesn't matter. That way, there's no
Exactly.
ego involved, no fear
Exactly.
involved.
Exactly. So, oh, not that one. So Crystal said, I resonate with this because the back of the skull tingles. My friend of mine, Mike, calls them the zings, and it's the same for me. And a lot of the times I'll get that feeling before I even say something, or when I'm in the middle of saying something to someone. If someone asks me a question, or if I'm, whatever, I'm even on my lives, I'll say something and I'll get the right down my spine. I'm like, oh, chills. Like that's complete channel from a whole other place, and I know.
Right.
So I love those back of the skull
Yeah,
tingles.
that's a loud yes. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that is a loud
Loud,
yes. Or the
loud, yes.
goosebumps,
Yeah.
that's very loud yes.
So Jen, we're at 46. We're about 50 minutes left. I think I'm going to ask some of the audience, I guess we can call them, in the comments to ask us a few questions. So you guys can all go ahead and ask a few, and I'll pick a few as we continue here. What else would you recommend to anyone going through this? Is there anything else that we might not hear on social media that would be important to consider when you're going down this spiritual road? Anything that can kind of stick out?
Please be careful. We all love answers. We all love to hear from psychic mediums, card readers, blah, blah, blah. Please be careful who you talk to. There are some bad ones, but there are some good ones.
Mm-hmm.
People, what people don't understand is some people will say to me, oh, I got a great reading from Jen. And another person will say, I got a horrible reading from Jen. If the psychic medium or whoever you're going to see doesn't resonate at least your vibrational level or above you, they can't see you. Okay? So always make sure, and when I run into people like that, if I get a call from a client or whatever, and I realize, because I can feel it, if they're resonating higher than I am, I'll tell them I can't see you. I can't read you.
Ah,
But
so
psychic
that's
medium or card won't tell you that, and they'll just guess their way through it or whatever. And you'll know.
I
Be
love
careful not to be taken advantage of.
I love that too. And I didn't even look at it the way you do, but it's the same with me when I have, because I give free calls for anybody who's going to invest with me and do the work, right? So people have a free call with me, no matter who you are. If we don't mesh, like I'm not going to tell you to pay me and do
Yeah,
the work. I'm going to tell you to go
right,
somewhere else and find that person who you vibe with, because there's no point. There's already resistance there. It doesn't make sense to go against it and break these walls down if already we're feeling a disconnect or our vibrations don't match. There's no
right,
reason for it. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm the same way, but I never
right.
looked at it that way. I never looked at it vibrationally, which is interesting. I don't know why, but it's really cool. Okay, so I got a few questions here. I'm gonna go right to Louise. Louise said, "So Jen, so don't suggest going for a chakra cleaning. You feel taking the Reiki course is a better route. What do you feel about that?"
You can get a chakra clearing. The thing with, I think everybody should go take a Reiki course. Okay. And what I was saying about the Reiki was, even though you learn how to open your chakras, it's a daily practice. When I first started doing it, I would have to remind myself or reopen my chakras 4 times a day. Okay. And when you're just learning or vulnerable like that, you're going to shut down your chakra system every time you get afraid, every time you get hurt, every time you are, because it's a learned experience to self protect by shutting down our energy system instead of putting up a protective bubble white love.
See,
We do both.
I love I love that because we talked about it too. And I don't know which day it was. You're like, yeah, this chakra here is, I'm getting this is blocked and this is blocked or whatever. And I'm like, what? I mean,
Yeah,
last night
like
I
I'm
felt totally
open.
aligned last night. I'm good. I'm open. I'm good. And you're like, no, this could be like minutes. This changes minute to minute. I'm like, what? What do you mean? So it opened my
Yeah,
eyes too to realize like how quick your energy can
getting
change.
that. You're like, my heart's open. I'm like, no, no, it's not. Here, let me fix it for you. And it took
Yeah.
maybe what 3 minutes to open that back up. But
Right.
sometimes wounding is so subconscious we don't even realize we're doing it.
Awesome. So Dorothy has a question. How do I know someone without meeting them before?
That's past life, Dorothy.
Uh-huh.
That's past. You have met them before.
Mm-hmm.
You have.
You know them. You know
Yeah.
them. You're like, how do I know this person? Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. Someone is okay. So I'm gonna try to find another one.
Sorry.
Here's another. So I got another question. What is a good way to calm the negative thoughts of self-doubt in ourselves, and how do you stop absorbing others' energy? I work in healthcare and I find I'm so drained by some patients. So I'm going to jump in on the first part. A good way to calm negative thoughts is to just be aware. Now, the thing about negative thoughts is they're a program that you've probably been running for forever, from childhood, from even past lives, but most likely your childhood and trauma-based stuff. You need to get very good at being present. And the first way to stop them is just being aware of them. But at the same time, when you're aware of your negative thought pattern or something you say to yourself that doesn't serve you, do not beat yourself up. Because as soon as you go, shit, I did it again. Oh, there I am again. You are just fueling the same exact thing. You have to find compassion for yourself. And it is going to take some time to get really good at being aware of how you think and what you put in your mind or what you say out loud. But the more you're just aware of it, you're taking power away from it right away. You're going from ego to higher self instantly. Ego to higher self instantly. And there's no power when you are able to observe that thought. You are the observer at that point. You're not the thought. You're not the ego. But it is training. I'll tell you right now, it's what you listen to every day. It's what you feed your mind with. It's who you surround yourself with. And I know in healthcare, it's going to be probably hard. There might be a lot of negativity. Bring the light every day. Surround yourself with the ones that you resonate with as much as you can. Stay out of the rumor mill. Stay away from the water cooler. Like we've all been there, but that's a big thing. And there's a lot of really good stuff online on how to reprogram your negative thoughts, but it's just repetition too is a big thing. Jen, I'll let you touch on how do you stop absorbing others' energy?
Like you said, Joey, stop allowing. Okay.
Yep.
Imagine there's a cloak around you. Okay. There's a big cloak around you, and all you can see is through this little slit in the front of you. So that person sending you negative energy your way or whatever, opening that up and looking at it, and then opening it up and looking at it some more, and it's coming in, and you're letting it come in. Right away, I'm going to say to you, why are you letting it come in? Close your cloak and just walk the other way. And sometimes, yes, we have to engage with people, and they're not fun. All we can do is protect our energy system, and just say thank you and just walk away.
Right.
But don't allow, and definitely don't come inside. Our auras, our bubble around us is probably like 3 feet. Don't go near them. Just try to keep your bubble away from them.
Yeah,
so
sometimes. Yeah, agreed. And something that I realized too with me is when I discovered I was an empath. Okay, I don't use the word empath anymore. I know I'm just a very sensitive being. So a lot of my life I took on energy. But then I got almost attached to the idea that I was an empath and that's just who I was. So I took on energy. That's how I am. I take on energy. So I had this almost identity with being an empath. So there was a part of me, a woman actually read me one day without, she just said, can I share something with you? And she's like, you feel, because you're such a heart-centered person. You feel that you need to prove to others that you can get affected like they're getting affected, just to go and show them, look, I can take on energy too. I understand. But your belief system is that change it. You don't have to take it on, feel all those things to prove that you're like them. So a lot of that shifted instantly. I'm like, oh, so I don't have to take this on to show them like I understand, I get it, because I do care. And so I was doing a lot of that because I was the empath. And then I switched it. I'm like, no, I take on only what is for me. I take only higher vibrational energy. And since that day, like I do a little ritual too with some archangels. It's like 98% gone that I take on anything like that anymore. So a lot of it is a belief too, you know? I don't know if you resonate with that one.
Yeah. And you can also, it's called reversing the stream. If negative coming at you, send unconditional love and light back. Kind of like Star Wars, right?
Right.
Love wins. Love always wins. Always stronger.
And
you're not people just say, "Oh crap, this is just coming at me." No.
Right.
Send love back at it. See what happens. Try it.
It's unreal. It's unreal what happens when you can do that. When you can laugh at it, you know, almost laugh at it and just send and just be like, just send the love. It's crazy.
Yep. Hug the person that's being crappy with you and just say, "I love you," and hug them. Try it. You only get hit a couple times, I swear.
Right. And here's another one. I do not claim this negative energy. You know, something simple as that. Simple as and straightforward as I don't claim it. I don't take it on. You'll see it a lot of times in TikTok videos. You'll see it like first comment on like a video that shows some energy or something. It's like, I do not claim this energy. So I laugh pretty hard, but it's true. Something as simple as just, you know, claiming that right off the hop, and knowing. Here's another thing, guys. Know that you are protected. Just know it.
That's right.
Just know it. You are.
Yeah.
You don't have to put the cloak on. You don't, oops, I forgot my bubble and my cloak today. I forgot to intentionally do it. I'm fucked. No, it's not like that. Okay. Because that's where you get caught too. It's like you get attached to the, oh, I didn't put my cloak on, or you get attached to this. Stop, because there's going to be days where you don't remember. Let that go. Just know it's there. It's on. You got this. Yeah, that's a big one, I think, because I've been there. I'll be like, you know, it's like my routine. Oh, I didn't do my routine like I should have. Then you get attached to the routine being the routine is the reason you're in alignment or you're powerful. No, it's just a part that helps you, you know? So, yeah. Okay. I got one from John now. Jen, we'll do one more from the comments, and then we're going to wrap things up. How do you sense and recognize the negative energy having an effect on you? You can start, and then I'll touch it.
John? And I'm going to have to say this from me personally. I can feel it. It feels heavy. It feels dense. Sometimes I get a headache. Sometimes I feel nervous. Sometimes I feel it in my stomach. It feels like weight. And if it depends on the level of intensity of negative energy. Sometimes it'll just real subtle. I'll feel off. And then sometimes, you know, real heavy, dark energy. Yeah. I'll get downright and go up. You know. Joey, what do you think? How does it happen for you?
It's different for me. A lot of times for me, it'll be gradual, and especially if I'm maybe drinking, I'm on holidays, or maybe I'm having a couple drinks here and there, where I'm, deciding, I'll have a couple drinks this day, maybe have a couple drinks that day with some friends and whatever, and maybe I stop working out, or I'm not meditating 5 days in a row. You don't see it sneak up on you, but I feel that what happens to my energy, my vibration. It lowers and lowers and lowers until a lot of times, sometimes it's too late. I almost find myself going, oh shit, I let it slip. And
Yeah.
that's where I'll feel it the most for me. And that's where, like, around Christmas time, I had a pretty scary time for myself. I had a few days of really deep depression that I hadn't felt in 5 years. But I knew what it was. I knew why, and I let it happen. But that's okay. I let it go, and I moved way past it, and I climbed out of it. But there are also other times, like with clients, if there's dense energy with them, it'll be like, oof, like I'll feel it. Like I can feel it instantly how strong it is. So it is very, very
Like a
different.
blanket,
Oh yeah, but
a wet blanket.
it's like one of these.
Have you
Oh,
have you also noticed when your vibrations that the people around you are negative towards you too?
oh,
Like
I project. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a strong
spreads like
presence. Like,
right.
and everyone knows when Joey is not. They know when I'm not me. People, they know. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. You ask anyone, and they'll and you it just they feel it, and I'm like, and I don't even, I'm in that mode. I'm just like, screw it, blah blah blah, and I don't realize how much I affect others, because I do. I do. So it's interesting. See, Cecilia said she gets nauseous, and everyone's so different. That's another thing, guys. Trust what you experience, because we are all so unique. And just because I feel a certain way, or Jen gets this that way, and you've been getting it a totally different way, maybe a way you've never heard before, trust it, because you're magic. You have ways of receiving and
Trust.
getting it. Yeah. So that's a huge, huge one, I think. Okay, so time's almost up.
Yeah.
It is up, but we're going to keep going. There's a couple questions. These are my final two questions, Jen. First one, because this show is about being raw, open, and vulnerable. Now, you don't have to. I'm going to ask you this. Is there something that you maybe have never shared that you'd be willing to share today? Something about your
Are you
life that
asking
you.
me?
I am. I am. It's to put you on
Okay.
the spot.
What's the question?
Well, because I'm big part of this show is to show just how powerful being vulnerable is. And I'm just wondering if there's something that you've always maybe wanted to share, or something you thought about sharing that you haven't before, that could help someone. I know it's on the spot. It's a tough
Um,
one.
no, I don't mind at all. What someone and I try to do this on my TikTok, and people always ask me, Jen, why is your content so all over the board? I want people to know, and because of a really big difference in my path too, I always looked at people that could read, or good psychic mediums or whatever, and look at them as an unreachable space. I'm nothing special. I'm just a person that learned the hard way through absolute devastation in her life how to connect in and to let go of her ego to a point where I can hear. And I had to do all that alone. And I try, and I want everybody to know I'm just a person, and you're no different than me, and we're all equal. And I love every single one of you unconditionally, and all I want to do is help. And I want to help you get to where I am. And there's nothing stopping you. Nothing. Nothing. Just wounding and fear and ego and a plethora of others. But as you're ready and your authentic self, and you're not, and you want to, you can. The only thing in your way is you. You know, fear. It's okay, and and that's what me and Joey are trying to do here, is create this community to say, hey, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay to be you. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Thank you, Jen.
Sure.
One more. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I know it's a lot, but I appreciate your honesty and vulnerability. That's what this is about. And so my last question, I think, is going to be something I bring in every show: is what does it mean for you to be alive? Like, what does it really mean to be alive for you?
Oh God. Coming from somebody that really like the first half, all I want to do is kill myself. What
Mm-hmm.
does it mean to be alive? Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. It's so much fun
Mm-hmm.
when I realized that I could just be myself and that be okay. And the only one, and I realized, oh my God, the only one that's really hounding me about being a, whatever it's to be, was me, right? After I erased all those people, I love living. And what I love most about living is feeling unconditional love for everybody and getting that back. And I had no idea that it could feel like this. I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
You know, I had
Get it.
no idea.
I get it. Totally
You
get
know
it.
what I mean,
I love
right, Joey? That love, right?
it. Yeah. You can't. Thank you. That was perfect. Um, thank you for that so much. Okay. So now we gotta do the reading thing now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get everyone who would like to be entered into the I guess the draw to get a free reading by Jen is to just type reading in the comments. So everybody do that now. You got about 3 minutes to do it, 5 minutes to do it, less than that. Just write reading in the comments. And what we're gonna do at the end of the show is we're gonna go through all the comments and we're just gonna put assign you a number, put you in a random generator, and we're going to announce the winner on, I think, what are we going to do? Do a live on the weekend or maybe Monday? What about Monday? Think we can do that Monday?
Yeah, we'll do it live and announce the winner, or we can just do a duetty thing and announce
Yeah,
Joey.
that's good. Awesome. Well, Jen, not only thank you for being open, raw, and vulnerable with me on my show, but for everything you do every single day, for making the videos, being brave enough to put yourself out there and to be real, because there's people going through every stage of this waking up process and realizing, how powerful we are, and you're a huge light in that space. So I know so many people appreciate you for who you are, and damn it, I'm going to get all emotional. Just thank you.
Thank you, Joey.
Yeah.
Same to you, brother. You're doing the
Yeah.
same thing. I'm so proud. I'm so
And
proud
I'm
of
proud of
all
you.
of you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. We had about 80 or some live, 85, 90 at one point. It was awesome. And just so you know, this will be recorded. This will be on my YouTube channel as soon as we're done here. So I'm just going to give a few more minutes to see who else wants to join into the reading, the draw, and I'll give it till what time is it? 38 till 22. I'll give it till 20 minutes to, and then we're going to shut it down. That was fun. Was that fun? Did you enjoy that?
Joey blew me away again. I'm so humbled you let me be here. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you invited me.
I'm so glad. It was so much fun. We'll have you on again. I think what we'll do is maybe we can dive into some of the deeper stuff next time. Maybe we can go into, who knows what we can do. We can do anything. We can do anything we want, really. Let's be honest.
It's limitless.
It is.
We could do whatever we want.
Awesome. All right. I think that's it. I think we got everybody signed up or in the comments. You can only comment once. Aliens. We're going to talk aliens next time too. We'll talk aliens. We can do that for sure. Everybody's probably just reading. Yeah. Oh, are you still there? Oh, he still got you. Okay. Well, thank you everybody so much for tuning in, for the support. Jen, thanks again. Next week, we have a soul called Joel. guys, if you don't know Soul Called Joel, like, where have you been, under a rock? Like, he's unbelievable. He's blown up on TikTok and Instagram. What an amazing human being that guy is. I'm really excited to have him on. So tune in next Wednesday, same time, 7:30 Central. Again, thank you, Jen. Thank you, everybody, for being here and the continued support. We love you. Bye bye.
Love you too. Bye, you guys.